Imagine waking up to find your next iPhone, laptop, or gaming console suddenly costs 25% more. That's the reality US tech giants are trying to avoid as they battle against sweeping new tariffs. But why is this happening? Who's really pulling the strings? And what does it mean for your wallet? Stay with us as we break down the battle shaking the tech world and what it means for you. Let's rewind the clock a little. It's 2018. The headlines are heating up. President Donald Trump stands on a podium with a clear message: America first. Behind the scenes, a quiet storm is building. A trade war that's about to send shockwaves through the global economy. But this isn't about oil or steel. This is about something closer to you: your phone, your laptop, your daily tech. Behind every device is a global web. Chips from Taiwan, screens from South Korea, assembly in China, design in California. Then the tariffs hit. Overnight, importing these devices became more expensive. Confusion erupts. One day, Apple breathes a sigh of relief as iPhones are exempt. 2 days later, Trump says nobody gets off the hook. Suddenly, America's biggest tech giants, Apple, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, find themselves not in a product war, but in a political battlefield. A war of lobbying, supply chain gymnastics, and behind-the-scenes negotiations. And for you, the consumer is caught in the middle, paying the price while billion-dollar corporations scramble to protect their bottom line. Okay, let's simplify this. A tariff is basically a tax, but not one you pay at checkout. It's a fee the government charges on goods coming into the country from abroad. Imagine Apple builds an iPhone in China. Before it reaches your local store in the US, a tariff adds, say, 25% to its cost. That extra fee, Apple either pays it, cutting into profits, or passes it on to you. Either way, someone's paying. Now multiply that by millions of devices. Chips, screens, batteries, all imported. Suddenly, the cost of making tech in America just got a lot higher. Governments use tariffs to protect local businesses or punish foreign ones. It's like saying, if you want to sell your goods here, pay up. Trump's administration didn't just use tariffs as taxes, they used them as weapons. Tools to pressure China, shake up trade deals, and bring manufacturing back to US soil. But in doing that, they pulled the tech industry into a storm it wasn't ready for. To understand Trump's tariff strategy, you have to understand his playbook: bold, aggressive, and unapologetically nationalistic. Trump believed China had been playing unfair for decades, undercutting US industries, stealing intellectual property, and hollowing out American jobs. His solution? Tariffs. Not small ones, not gradual, massive, sweeping, sudden tariffs. He didn't hide it. This was part of a bigger plan to bring manufacturing back home, reduce reliance on China, and make it clear the US was done being taken advantage of. He hit Chinese goods with tariffs up to 125%. China hit back with its own. It became a tit-for-tat trade war, one of the biggest in modern history. But here's the twist: the tech industry wasn't the main target. It was the collateral damage. Phones, chips, laptops, they were all tangled up in this high-stakes game of economic chess. 1 week, tariffs are paused. The next, they're back. The uncertainty left companies scrambling. Behind the scenes, CEOs made calls. Publicly, they stayed silent, careful not to poke the bear. Trump called it strategy. Tech giants called it chaos. Donald Trump's strategy with tariffs wasn't just economic, it was theatrical. Every announcement, every pause, every tweet had ripple effects across the globe. But one moment stood out. Wednesday morning, markets were shaky, swinging between green and red. Then at exactly 9:37 a.m., Trump dropped a message on his social platform, Truth Social: "This is a great time to buy DJT." Just 4 hours later, he made a surprise move, announcing a 90-day pause on nearly all tariffs. Boom, the S&P 500 skyrocketed, closing the day up nearly 10%. In just hours, the market recovered over $4 trillion in value. To some, this was bold leadership. To others, it was suspicious. Critics, including former White House ethics lawyer Richard Painter, called it dangerously close to market manipulation. Senators Adam Schiff and Chris Murphy publicly demanded an investigation. Was this insider trading? Was the market being played like a chessboard? Trump, when pressed, said he'd been thinking about the pause for a few days, then contradicted himself, claiming he decided early this morning. His spokesperson defended the post as presidential duty, but the message was clear. In Trump's tariff war, the battle wasn't just China, it was Wall Street too. And the tech industry? Still stuck in the middle of the crossfire. As Trump's tariff roller coaster rattled global markets, the US tech industry found itself on edge. For companies built on precision, efficiency, and global coordination, chaos was a costly enemy. Let's break it down. Apple, for instance, was at the heart of the storm. The iPhone is assembled in China, but built with parts from over 40 countries. A 25% tariff on components meant Apple either had to raise prices or eat the cost. Tim Cook personally met with Trump to secure exemptions. For a while, it worked. iPhones were spared, but the threat never fully disappeared. HP and Dell, two PC giants, considered moving up to 30% of production out of China. Google started shifting Pixel phone manufacturing to Vietnam. Nintendo delayed Switch 2 shipments as it reassessed the cost implications of tariffs. This wasn't just contingency planning, it was survival mode. And then came Nvidia. In a high-profile move, the chip giant pled to manufacture up to $500 billion worth of AI infrastructure in the US over 4 years. Was it patriotism? Maybe. But most insiders saw it as a strategic play. Stay in Trump's good books, dodge the upcoming semiconductor-specific tariffs. Here's the kicker. The tech sector doesn't just use supply chains, it is the supply chain. According to S&P Global, over 81% of smartphones and 66% of laptops sold in the US are made in China. Even a minor disruption ripples across the world. In just 1 week of tariff confusion, US tech stocks lost nearly $6 trillion in market value before bouncing back when the pause was announced. That's more than the GDP of Japan. Every company reacted differently. Some downsized shipments, others rerouted production. Most stayed quiet in public while frantically lobbying behind closed doors. Because in this trade war, silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Tech giants aren't used to being cornered, but tariffs changed the game. Publicly, they stayed calm. Privately, they launched a full-blown counteroffensive. Let's start with Apple. Tim Cook didn't blast press releases, he picked up the phone. He met Trump multiple times behind closed doors, emphasizing one key point. If tariffs hit Apple, Samsung, based in South Korea, would win by default. No tariffs, no disruption. Trump listened. For a while, iPhones got exempted. Google, meanwhile, accelerated its exit from China. Pixel phone production quietly shifted to Vietnam. Dell and HP rerouted entire manufacturing chains. Amazon increased investment in US-based data centers to balance its exposure. Nvidia took a bold route, playing offensive. They didn't just adjust their supply chain, they made a $500 billion commitment to build AI infrastructure in the US. Shortly after CEO Jensen Huang attended a private Trump fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, the White House eased up on restrictions targeting Nvidia's chip exports to China. Coincidence? Maybe. Smart strategy? Absolutely. But it wasn't all CEOs calling presidents. Tech lobby groups like the Consumer Technology Association and Business Roundtable stepped in, pressuring Congress to act. They argued tariffs weren't hurting China, they were punishing US innovation, US jobs, and US consumers. Microsoft's Satya Nadella took a softer approach, framing AI innovation as the future and warning against trade policies that slow progress. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy made it clear, tariffs will hurt third-party sellers and raise costs for customers. And while Elon Musk was unusually loud, calling Trump's trade advisor a moron, most leaders stayed strategically silent, fighting their battles in private. The message was unified. If Washington wanted to win the tech race, it couldn't afford to handicap its own champions. Backed into the corner, US tech giants didn't just complain, they adapted. Fast. The first workaround? Geographic diversification. Companies realized putting all their eggs in China's basket was a liability. Apple ramped up production in India and Vietnam, encouraging suppliers like Foxconn to build new plants outside of China. By early 2025, over 10% of iPhones were being assembled in India. Google shifted Pixel production to Southeast Asia. Dell and HP quietly moved parts of their operations to Thailand and Mexico. Microsoft expanded its cloud hardware manufacturing footprint in Arizona and Ohio. These weren't small moves, they were billion-dollar pivots, done quietly, swiftly, and globally. Then came logistics hacks. To beat tariff deadlines, some firms started flying in shipments early. Apple was reportedly flying plane loads of iPhones into the US to avoid new levies. Others repackaged goods in third countries, sidestepping certain important classifications. There were also legal strategies. Many companies filed for tariff exemptions through official channels. Dozens were granted, often after quiet lobbying or political nudging. And then there was the PR play. Firms made big announcements. We're investing $500 billion in American manufacturing. Did all of it happen? Not always. But these grand gestures often brought goodwill and exemptions. In short, the tech industry didn't wait around to get hit. They got smarter, faster, and more global, turning a crisis into an opportunity to reinvent their supply chains for the next decade. So after all the chaos, lobbying, and last-minute pivots, what did it all lead to? What was the final score in this tech versus tariff war? Let's start with the obvious. Prices went up. Devices got more expensive. Some of that was inflation, sure, but tariffs added real pressure. A 25% increase on parts doesn't just vanish. It shows up on your receipt, or worse, in cheaper quality. Second, delays. Thanks to reshuffling supply chains, companies faced bottlenecks. Shipments were slower, inventory was tighter. Remember the chip shortage of 2021? Tariffs didn't cause it, but they made it worse. Industries from gaming to automotive felt the squeeze. Third, uncertainty crushed investment. When the rules change every week, no company wants to buy a billion-dollar factory. Many tech firms held back. They waited. And when they did invest, it was defensive. Moving factories not because they wanted to, but because they had to. But there was also a silver lining. The crisis forced innovation. Companies became leaner, more global, less dependent on any one country. The US even saw a modest revival in domestic tech manufacturing, especially for AI infrastructure. And politically, Trump proved one thing. Tariffs aren't just taxes, they're power moves. They shift markets, shape industries, and stir up headlines fast. By 2025, the dust hadn't fully settled. Some tariffs remained, others were quietly dropped. But the scars on the tech industry? Still visible. And the message? Crystal clear. In a globalized world, a tweet, a tariff, or a temper can shake the backbone of the devices we use every single day. So, who really paid the price? Let's cut through the noise. First, you did. The everyday consumer. That new iPhone? More expensive. That gaming console? Delayed or marked up. Even accessories like chargers or headphones saw price jumps. Companies don't eat costs, they pass them down the chain. Second, small and mid-sized tech firms. Unlike giants like Apple or Nvidia, they didn't have the cash reserves to rewrite their global operations overnight. Some lost contracts. Others downsized or relocated slowly and painfully. Third, retailers and suppliers. Thousands of US businesses rely on imported tech components. Tariffs squeeze their margins, forcing many to raise prices or exit markets entirely. This hit innovation hard. Now, big tech didn't walk away untouched either. While they lobbied, pivoted, and played smart, even they had to absorb billions in new costs, delays, and strategic headaches. Apple's margins took hits. Google rerouted entire product lines. Nvidia raced to prove its loyalty to US manufacturing. And Wall Street? It rode the chaos like a roller coaster. One tweet triggered rallies, another sent stocks crashing. So yes, consumers felt it in their wallets. Companies felt it in their operations. In the industry, and learned the hard way that geopolitics doesn't stay in Washington. It hits you at the checkout counter, in the code, and in the cloud. So where do we go from here? Are tariffs the new normal, or just a temporary storm? One thing's certain, the tech world has changed forever. Today we're seeing a massive shift. Call it China Plus One, a strategy where companies keep some manufacturing in China, but build backup bases in India, Vietnam, Mexico, and even the US. This isn't just about cost, it's about control, about being ready if things explode again. We're also seeing a resurgence of strategic manufacturing in the US, especially around semiconductors and AI infrastructure. Nvidia and Apple aren't just announcing plants here for PR, they're hedging, because global uncertainty is the new baseline, and the US government still using tariffs like a lever. Under Biden, many Trump-era tariffs remained. Some were reviewed, few were lifted, because now, tariffs aren't just about China, they're about power, leverage, and positioning in the tech race. For companies, this means building supply chains that are resilient, not just cheap. For consumers, it means expecting more transparency and sometimes higher prices. And for governments, it means walking a tightrope between national security, economic strength, and technological dominance. In short, the tariff war may cool down, but the game of global tech strategy is just getting started. The battlefield has moved. It's no longer just about factories, it's about chips, code, cloud, and control. And the ones who adapt fastest? They're the ones who will define the next decade. Tariffs weren't just taxes, they were tremors, felt across boardrooms, factories, and your wallet. Tech giants didn't just fight, they evolved. New alliances were formed, supply chains were rebuilt, and the global tech landscape was redrawn. So the next time your phone costs more, your laptop ships late, or your apps feel slower, remember, it's not just tech, it's geopolitics, trade wars, and strategy playing out in real time. If you found this video insightful, hit that subscribe button, tap like, and drop a comment below. Should governments use tariffs to influence tech, or is it too risky? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching, stay informed, stay sharp.